Your half-an-hour dose of positive and uplifting news has officially begun. My name is Pule Molebati. Thank you for being here. If there's one thing that South Africans need right now is positive news. And there is no better way or platform to share those news than right here on Stories Untold. Today we are detailing the story of an entrepreneur who is making it big in the IT space. We are bringing you the story of Thulani Ngwenya. He began with absolutely nothing, from going to living on the streets to owning an IT company. Here is his story.
This is Thulani Ngwenya, a zealous man from Mpumalanga. Raised from a humble background, the Ngwenya spirit, which loosely translates strong as a crocodile, got him through trying times.
I was born in a small town in Mpumalanga called Brayton. So all I knew when I was younger was that I wanted to do medicine, right? I wanted to be a doctor. How I'd get there, I didn't know.
Forced to take up responsibility from an early age, Thulani's childhood was tough.
My childhood was not the easiest, right? It was not the greatest. I mean, when other kids would go to play, I'd have to go out and be selling stuff. I mean, in grade 1 already, I was running a tuck shop at home. I was selling stuff to people, right? They used to call it kwasduma, you know. So when I was young, I was a fat baby. So I looked like Usduma back then. Remember Usduma? Yeah, Scoot is nice. Yeah, so my tuck shop was called Kwasduma. I used to sell things. So when kids would go play, look, I used to get some time to go play, but that is not what I did the most. More often I had to be out there on the streets, either carrying a bucket of tomatoes or whatever, just selling, you know. And I'd use that money to buy food at home.
No father figure or role models, his life goals seemed like coals burned to ashes.
My father abandoned me. So when I grew up, I did not know my father, you know, so I did not have a father figure growing up. I basically did not have any sense of belonging because I was just alone. Our role models back then were the people that would sit in the corners, you know, smoking and drinking, or the most feared gangster in the township or in the village, you know. Those would be the people that people would look up to.
To his shock, Thulani was introduced to his estranged father.
When I turned, I think I was doing standard 8, which is grade 10 now, right? One time, this gentleman came to my house, you know, and I was told that the gentleman was my father, you know. And he comes to me and asks me, and I'm like, this guy is supposed to be my father, but he's asking me, you know. So that was an interesting thing. So I met my father when I think I was 10 or 15, because it was the end of the year. I was gonna go to standard 9 the following year. Yeah, I met him there around the age of 15, and then he came. But he came for a stint, and then he disappeared again.
A dreamer in a sleepy village, Thulani had aspirations that kept him going and excelling in school.
I was pretty gifted at school, right? So I did very well at school, so I was one of the people, even though I did not have much, I think that gave me some sense of happiness that at least at school the teachers loved me because I'm doing very well, I'm a hard worker, I'm a performer, you know. What I knew was that after matric, I don't want to be here, right? I don't want to find myself here because there's really nothing for me to do. So there was this guy, a Kaslami, who stayed in the same street as me, and he had gone to varsity before me, right? And he was also well known for doing well at school.
His father would come and go, but Thulani continued respecting him.
So when he came back, he told us that he was doing IT. That was the first time I heard of IT, right? So when I heard of IT, I used to think that IT was just about typing, right? So if I do IT, I'll type fast. You know, so he told me I was doing IT, so He introduced me to what IT is and stuff like that. So I got an interest in IT, you know. So I thought that I should apply in my matric year to do IT. I applied to a couple of universities, right? And then I came to write all this tests at the University of Pretoria, and eventually that is where I was accepted. There was also a promise of a bursary. After I finished my matric year, my father came back, right? And he was actually very surprised that I did so well, right? Because he did not think that I'm a distinction kind of guy. Because I had done so well and he had that, man, there was a promise of a bursary, he came and he said to me, I can come live with him in Pretoria the following year whilst they're processing the bursary and everything. Well, I had no other option, and it was a very interesting choice for me to do, right? Because I knew I did not want to be in the township. So the following year came, and yeah, he came and he picked me up, and I came to Pretoria and to live with him in Pretoria. The first month it was okay. He actually paid my registration fee. So one of the daughters, who was a year older than me, was also starting at the University of Pretoria the same year. She was going to do law there when I was going to do computer science. So he paid the registration fee for me. And for some reason, man, I don't know what happened. Things just did not go as planned, because the university told me that unfortunately they are no longer giving away bursaries for that year, right? I remember sitting in the toilet at the University of Pretoria and I was crying, you know, because I just did not know what's next, you know, if this is not happening, what was going to happen. And when my father heard that the university is no longer giving away bursaries, he actually went and he took the registration fee and then he paid it towards the fees of my sister's fee, right? So I was left alone with really no hope, you know.
Welcome back. You are still watching Stories Untold. Thank you once again for being here. For Thulani Ngwenya, education was indeed the only way out. How did he make it with his degree after his father withdrew the funding? Let's find out.
Thulani Ngwenya saw that his way out of poverty was through getting an education. Soon after moving with his father in Pretoria, his bursary was withdrawn and his father left him to fend for himself. Knowing no one in the big city, Thulani found himself homeless.
Found myself on the streets, you know, of Gauteng. What I knew was that I am not going back home, because there was just nothing. I knew that if I go back home, that would be it, you know. I should forget, because there is nothing to do there. I remember I used to ride the train from Pretoria, where it's just up and down the train with the bags and just trying to figure out what's next, you know.
Not deterred, Thulani resisted the voice of giving up, but rather upped his pace.
I started walking. I used to walk, I don't know how well you know Pretoria, but I used to walk from Pretoria West close to Churchville, and I used to walk to Hatfield. Because I did not know Pretoria, the only street that I knew was Church Street, right? So every day in the morning, I'd get up and I'd walk and I'd go into every company, asking them for a job. There's a garage that I used to sleep next to, right? I used to walk into every company along Church Street, because I wanted to be sure that I can get back, I can find my way back. So Church Street is the only street that I knew then. So I used to ask for any job, man. A cleaning job, if you want me to pack boxes, whatever.
Daily walking up and down the street previously known as Chet Street, now WF Nkomo, Thulani didn't take no for an answer.
There was an ISCO offices. I remember walking there one day to this big building, and I got to the gates, I found the security guard. I had my matric certificate and stuff, right? And I said to him, yo man, I'm here looking for a job, you know, or are there any opportunities available? And then he said to me I should go into the office, speak to the people. So I went into the office, right? When I got to the office, I asked to speak to their hiring people or their HR people, and they called this lady for me. So what they did is they took my results, right? They looked at my results, and obviously my results were good. So when they saw my results, they said to me, it's just a pity because I had just come too late, right? They just closed off giving bursaries for the following year, right? But I did qualify for a bursary from them to go study engineering. But what they can do, they have a bridging school in Pretoria West, right? That applications for the bridging school are still open. So they can put me there the following year, and then maybe I can get a bursary then for the other year. I had no options. For me, that was just my best bet at that time. I said, please, right, put me through that program. If that is what I have now, that's what I'll take.
Thulani's uncle assisted him with accommodation when the slopes were getting too steep.
After I completed a matric, and then he had to come to Pretoria to further his studies. And then as a Pretoria, I figure I register a Pretoria Tech, University of Pretoria in Tekis. And then in Pilake, it was a little bit difficult. Nagatala first year schooling because we are schooling, it was difficult. Then it was difficult for her. And then I had to go to like in Shalena, Erumini, ask question up until into Zakiziba right. And then he nearly dropped out in first year at university. But because he was very determined and focused to his studies, and then he had to soldier on, even situations were very difficult.
Once again, the Ngwenya spirit got Thulani one step closer to his dream of getting an education so he can change the face and future of his village and the next generation looking up to him.
I had decided because the previous year I had already tested university because I did the computer science for a month or two, attending lectures while I was waiting for the bursary. So I already had that introduction to computer science, so I knew that I wanted to do computer science. So a lot of the guys that we were with there wanted to do engineering, obviously, and the mining engineering, geology, and all those things. So I wanted to do computer science. So Kumba was not giving away bursaries for computer science, right? But the nice thing is that they helped us apply to a lot of other companies. So I had also applied to Spornet back in those days for a bursary to do computer science. Yeah, it was, I think, the December holidays when I received a call from Spornet telling me that I got the bursary. And I'm telling you, that was the very first time I gave my mom a hug in my life, right? Because I was just so happy.
Seeing the light, Thulani knew he had passed the tunnel.
We're almost at the end of our show, but before we do that, we still have to conclude Thulani Ngwenya's story. He wrote a book titled A Hobo and a Rich Man. This details the story of his life from having absolutely nothing and owning an IT company.
Thulani Ngwenya from rural Mpumalanga came a long way to the capital city of Tshwane to seek a way out of abject poverty. He firstly persisted for a bursary to study, and when that happened, he continued with his first love, entrepreneurship. This enabled him to start being the role model that he never had.
I actually started doing business when I was in university. Right, so when I was in university, well, I used to work also at the computer lab, right, assisting students with stuff, and I was also a tutor. But also used to work for a company called Red Feather Consulting. So after my lectures, I'd go to work. December holidays, I was at home, and I had to go back to university the following year, right? Man, I remember the pain of watching my mom being helpless when I had these bags, so many bags that I had to carry to a bus stop, I don't know how many kilometers away, right? Because she had no car, she just had nothing, you know? And the pain that she just could not help me, you know, I knew then that, man, when I come back home, I must have a car.
Not long after the inception of his IT business, big names in the entertainment industry gave Thulani an opportunity of working with them.
I came back, I got this job at Entrepreneurial, I got this job at Red Feather Consulting, I started doing the work, I got my license. The same February, I bought myself my first car, cash, right? Because what I had already started doing, I had already started a technology business. Back then, it was when websites were still new. All the DJs wanted websites, right? I remember we worked with DJ Dino Bravo, DJ Fresh was back at YFM at that time, and a lot of other artists. I started another business called Bytecode, which is a business that still exists today. It's a technology business. It was focused because after school, I obviously got into corporate. And I realized the opportunities available in corporate that IT companies were not providing. So I started that business to focus on that, to offer technology services for corporates.
Thulani has learned never to leave any stone unturned, even through trying times. With the pandemic killing most businesses, Thulani came up with a solution for personalities that highly depend on performances to make ends meet.
When the pandemic started, if you look at the entertainers in the country, the musicians, the people in the social business, right, the entertainment business, most of them make their money from performances or gigs or being booked for appearances and all those things. But when we had to go on lockdown, a lot of them lost a major part of their income because now they cannot go and perform, they cannot be out there, right? But if you think about it, if you look at what they have on social media, they have hundreds and thousands and millions of followers. There are people who still just admire them, right? If you look at a famous musician, for instance, somebody would just want to engage with them for them to be guided by that particular person. I did a research, and the research confirmed that people would pay for their time, right? I would pay to speak to Patrice Motsepe if he'd spare me a few minutes of his time. And he says, I want this much, I would pay because I understand the value that I'm going to realize from that conversation, right? So we said, why don't we build a platform in a form of a mobile application that will allow these celebrities to earn a living, right? So how the platform works is a celebrity would register a profile, right? When they register a profile, that puts in their rates to say if he wants to have my time for 5 minutes, 15, 30, an hour, whatever, this is how much I'm going to charge you, right? So ordinary users like myself or anybody else would go to the platform and that creates a meeting request in a form of a party. We call it a party, right? A meeting request, and after creating the request, that search for that particular celebrity and invites the celebrity to the party. The celebrity on the app would receive this and look at the party request, right? They approve the request, they reject the request. So what happens is when I create the party and invite the celebrity, it tells me this thing that Nombuso will charge me $500 for her 30 minutes, right? Are you happy with this? I say I'm happy, then I make the payment on the app already. So when the celebrity accepts the party, what happens is the next step is we have a private video call on the app. So it goes beyond just celebrity. So anybody that has time to sell, whether you're a business person, you want to be consulted via the app, whether you are a Sangoma, interestingly, these days they consult via Zoom, right? You can be on the app to be consulted on the app. So anybody who has time to sell can be on the app and they can make money for their time.
Aubrey met Thulani only to learn a great deal about technology and community solutions.
Me and Thulani met in 2016 and we were attending the briefing at Gauteng Shared Services. And so the exciting thing was that when I walked in, my eyes were just connecting with him, you know. And then after the session, there was a guy who was our mutual friend, you know. So he introduced us and we started talking about the kind of work that we were doing at that time, you know. And so the conversation went on and then we started to talk about the things that we wanted to do in the future. And it turned out that the kind of products that we wanted to build for the future were exactly the same. So he's a visionary and I'm also a visionary. And we always believe that when you develop a product, the product has to solve problems. So you must always make sure that you shy away from reinventing the wheel, you know. So that's the only way that you're going to be unique.
From staying on the side of the road to accumulating what both his parents could only pray for, Thulani wrote a book titled A Hobo and the Poor Rich Man.
I decided to write a book. Right, it's a book. The people who read it, once they start reading the book, they can't put it down until the end, because when it starts, so it's a book that speaks about, it's a hobo and a rich man. The title of the book is A Hobo and a Poor Rich Man. So it's an encounter between a hobo and this rich man, you know. A rich man did not expect that a hobo could become such a very knowledgeable teacher, in that sense, that a hobo could come and transform his life.
And this is what he thinks his late father would think about how far he has come on his journey, and his mother.
I think I've always known that you are a Ngwenya, because that is what Ngwenyas do. But hopefully I also think he would maybe want to apologize and make things right, because I would have loved to have a relationship with my father. My mom is very proud, right, because she knows where I come from.
And this is his golden lesson.
I want to use my success, in quotes, in the world to just demonstrate that, for me, that just symbolizes that you can be and you can achieve what you want to achieve, right? That just demonstrates the power that you are.
Thulani Ngwenya, you have truly showed us that it is in human willingness that true success is hidden. Stories Untold salutes you and your spirit of Ubungwenya.
And on that note, we conclude our show here for today. If you have more of those positive and uplifting news, please do share them with us on social media using the hashtag Stories Untold SABC. If you missed any of our show, you can catch us on YouTube, Stories Untold SABC. From myself, Pule Mulebati, and the rest of the team. Goodbye.